Hello everybody, welcome back. This is JudiciousFire. I'm on the iOS server. Continuing my Lost Battlefield series. We're trying to build as strong a Lost Battlefield team as possible. We looked in the very first video at the game mode itself, as well as how the Warden system functions. While it is not the primary decision maker in building teams, certainly the Warden should be noted and used in that decision-making process. Let's go on to the next step here. We can make 5 hero teams. If we can, the silence and healing and accuracy increase from the Green Warden will really help us, as well as the massive damage we do with the Warden activation. But let's take a look at our first step in choosing the heroes and why. There is a system of conditions in the game of Castle Clash. They are called by the following names. They are called coma, stun, paralysis, freeze, fear. Now, those 5 descriptors all basically represent the same thing. The bad guys can't do anything. They're stuck in place. They're unable to move. They can't activate their skill. They can't attack you with their basic attack. They can't really do anything during that time. This is an incredibly helpful skill to have in something like a Lost Battlefield, where it's player versus player, and there is a limited time, and we have to act quickly. The person who gets the stun, coma, freeze, paralysis, or fear off first can typically win the battle. So we are going to look at the heroes that do that, some form of the conditions that I have just described. Okay, here's a hero whose stun ability can really make a dramatic impact on a Lost Battlefield team. With a Dread Drake on your team, he is going to typically get a first fire, first attack against the enemy. He has a built-in 5 revitalize coupled with a fast energy recovery. What will help Dread Drake to throw out those cannonballs and stun the enemy is any kind of attack speed boost. A Berserk of any kind as talent or insignia. Anything that will get his attack speed up. When it comes to this game, when 2 heroes are both with a revitalize, both at full energy, both in the front row, which one fires first? It's the one with the highest attack speed. So get that Dread Drake attack speed up. Any attack speed, really, of your frontline stunners can have a benefit, but especially on Dread Drake. Now, when 2 heroes are both up in front, both with a revitalize, both with full energy recovery, when they're both exactly the same hero, say 2 Dread Drakes, and they both have a Berserk at the same level, which one fires first? I think at that point it becomes random number generation. But we've gotten into such a minuscule category that it's scarcely worth mentioning. Okay, next in terms of game changers in Lost Battlefield, I would go with Little Nick. Little Nick has the Frostbite talent. It is automatic. It is immediate upon the start of the battle. So you do not need to equip him with a revitalize. You don't need to give him energy of any kind. He will activate the Frostbite talent immediately, and then every 6 seconds afterwards. It's on a 6-second clock or timer. That Frostbite talent, varying on the level of your Little Nick, it is going to freeze, stop the enemy completely for 1 second. Now, that doesn't seem like a long time, but it is enough time to get your other heroes, your big stunners, your big freezers, to get them to activate first. And Little Nick will provide you that first action because of his ability to freeze your opponents. A Sasquatch is another great hero to use because of his freeze ability. Depending on the skill level of your Sasquatch, at some point, at all points, he's going to have the ability to freeze the enemy. And that will give the rest of your team the ability to act first in battle. And with short battles, that really does make a difference. So Sasquatch is another one that we put up there as a very important freeze hero. Storm Eater is another hero that puts out a wonderful stun. He inflicts stun for 3 seconds. He also does a tremendous amount of damage. A really great hero to be using in Lost Battlefield. Levanica is another great hero to be using for this game mode. He puts out a paralysis for 3 seconds on nearby enemy targets in a area. That paralysis can really shut down the enemy. Lazulix is one of the top stunner, freezers, paralyzers in the game. His is specifically a freezing ability. But either way you slice it, the other team isn't going to be able to move, do anything in combat. And in that time, the remaining 4 heroes on your team can move forward and begin their attack process. Cosmo is another huge paralyzer in the game. So among the heroes that I've listed here, these 6 heroes, Dread Drake, Little Nick, Sasquatch, Levanica, Cosmo, as well as Storm Eater. They are some of the top freezers, stunners, coma artists, paralyzers, fear inducers in the game of Castle Clash, and they can really shut the other team down, giving you the opportunity to be able to take advantage of those precious seconds at the beginning of battle and really get a strong momentum going there at the very start. This can help to end a battle that is only supposed to last for a few seconds, or it can help to conclude a battle that would have lasted well beyond the limited time in Lost Battlefield, but because you were able to stop that train from gaining momentum, stop it right there at the station, they weren't able to make any great progress with their attack against you. So wonderful method to use is the stun, freeze, coma, paralyze, fear-inducing method here in Castle Clash. Okay, now we are in the team formation screen. We talked last video about creating a Green Warden team. If you can, it is going to help to silence the enemy, preventing some or most of them from using their skill, activating their skill in combat. Also gives you a big accuracy boost as well as a heal every couple of seconds. Now we have begun to pick out a couple of the top freezers, stunners, paralyzers in the game. Sass and Cosmo, Levanica, Dread Drake, Storm Eater, Little Nick, as well as Lazulix. Each one of these, 6 out of 7 of these, are heroes that can be acquired through simple gem rolling. The only one who is a pay-to-play dragon is going to be Levanica. I mean, we can even remove him from the equation. That's perfectly fine. Some of these other heroes do a far better job at the role of stunning or freezing than Levanica can do. When you have somebody like a Dread Drake, you're going to want to have proximity. Board position really does make a difference with Dread Drake. Again, with that attack speed, you also want to give him good board position right up in front so he can get that first fire. When it comes to Storm Eater, he is also somebody where proximity up in front and being able to fire first is of great importance. Lazulix, he's going to freeze up the entire enemy team unless they're somehow immune to freeze. You want to put him somewhere in the front, preferably in the center, because he's going to be able to impact not only the center region, but the left and right side of the board equally. When it comes to Little Nick, he's going to drop those freezing ice shards automatically at the start of battle, regardless of his placement on the board. So he is somebody that you can, move to the second row, back row. He does not have to be in front row position. Sasquatch will have to be up in front. And also when it comes to Cosmo, even with a Revitalize or something, he does need to be somewhere in the front to be able to activate his skill upon first fire and get that bubble going. So we already have two really nice paralyzers or freezers, stunners or coma artists on our team. And somebody like, let's look at this pairing right here. We have Laz with his big freeze, but in order to affect the other team with that freeze, he's got to be able to get first fire, first action in battle. By having a little Nick on the team with Lazulix, you're going to drop those ice shards down the moment the clock begins. In that 1 second that the other team is frozen in place, Laz will be able to move forward and affect a huge, debilitating freeze on the rest of the team. So Little Nick is very much like the he's like the spotter or the holder of the ball, and the place kicker is going to be your Lazulix. So they work in tandem with one another, but Nick is going to provide the opportunity for Laz to really shine. And when it comes to, guys like this, you might want to say to yourself, well, Cosmo is so good at causing a paralysis bubble, and it encapsulates the entire team, that Sasquatch might not be a good choice to use on this team, because his ability to freeze is going to be far exceeded by Cosmo. And you might want to, maybe swap him around to another part of the board. Like you could remove him. And just kind of like with Little Nick, we can take a Dread Drake who will stun the team and use him to get that first fire of those cannonballs, allowing then Cosmo a far easier time at activating his skill. So they are very much working with one another to create a really nice paralysis team. And you have Storm Eater. You want to put him up in front center. He puts out a ring or disc. You want to make sure that the enemy is inside of that ring or disc, and having him in the center is going to help that. And we had our Sasquatch. Once he puts out that stun and that horrific damage, no problem with having Sass coming in also with a little bit of a freezing ability right after that initial shot from Storm Eater. So we start to see things take place. We are starting to work on building some great stunning teams that have a strong momentum that can shut the other team down. In our next video, we're going to be completing our team building exercise here. We're going to try to come up with five member teams that are going to be able to really shut down the enemy and get us that forward momentum that is so necessary in a player versus player mode that only has 45 seconds for you to actually act in combat. I appreciate you tuning in. Very next video, we'll do team building. Thanks, everybody, and have a great night. All right, see ya. Bye-bye.